Good morning and welcome to the Godstone Ranch School of the Arts. My name is Karen Garrett. We've had a lot of fun together. The first one that we did, lesson 1, we did the soy sauce drawings with line. Not contour line, but just straight across line. That's in lesson 1. Lesson 2 I did, and that was the house shoes, which we were going to do cross hatching with pencil and an eraser, but I hit the wrong button and it erased the whole thing. But I did do the assignment and the piece. You know that we are working toward what's called homework because we're all at home. It's the first time in history that everyone in the world is at home. And so as artists, or if you want to be an artist, this is your time. Lots of artists I know have waited and wondered and thought that maybe, just didn't ever happen, right? Well, it did happen, and here we are. This is our time. This is how movements are made. This is how art history is made. It's important that we, as artists and creative beings, are using our time in between everything else that we're doing in the home to document this through art history in our art. So the second one was the house shoes with pencil and an eraser. The third one was the continuous line of your home, some place in your home. I did the kitchen studio. And today what we're going to do is something called contour line. Typically I do hands. And so hands, if you look at your hand, like let's say there's my hand. What we're going to do is draw whatever it is you're going to draw, and the lines have to go in the direction of the curves of whatever it is you're doing. And I'm hoping that we're going to all do hands, like the wrinkles in your hands go around. That's the contour. It makes it have a shape. We're going to use pencils, pens, and markers. That's going to be multimedia. We're trying to use all of the supplies that we have in our house. I know lots of you are artists already and you have a full-blown studio in your home, but I'm asking you, because everyone doesn't have that, if you would please use the items that you have in your house, which will make it more authentic. There was a time when Brancusi had a whole movement of truth in materials, and this kind of goes back toward that kind of thinking where they didn't paint the sculptures once they're the marble or whatever. When they were finished, they just left it as marble. So what I'm trying to get us to do is use our home art supplies that we have to make the work our home work. And this is going to be a global art exhibition. Now I don't know where it's going to go, but the more of us that do it and the more of us who connect with each other, the better off, in the end. And it may be a while, but it's still going to be incredibly important. I can see these things being in the Smithsonian at some point. Just because I study so much art history, it's important that we do the art, and one day the art will be shown and we'll have done what we were supposed to be doing during this time. Because doing the art after math is not it. It's doing it in it, okay? So what I'm thinking about with hands is that we are really conscientious about our hands now because of the virus. So we wash our hands all the time. We help other people wash their hands all the time. We ask them if they wash their hands all the time. Somebody walks in the door, you have to, did you wash your hands? Don't touch anything. And the other thing is that, where we used to open doors with a doorknob or a handle, now it's like, how do you open a door, with your hand like that? So the hands look different now, right? That's the hand now. Or weirdly, that's a hand now. And see that look right there? That's an interesting composition. We're also using gloves a lot. So I did that the other day when I had to go to the grocery store, and it was so interesting because I never really have thought about paying, when you push your numbers in and everything with your credit card. And but I had my gloves on and I had my mask on, And then I left the store and I got out, and you know, now you can't get in your car with your gloves on. So then, and now I've learned to, if I go to the grocery store, park near the trash can so that I can pull off my glove and then pull off my other glove, and then it looks kind of like that, and in the trash can, right? So, and if I don't find a trash can, now I'm walking around with my gloves, like where do I go to get, where do I throw these away, because I can't put them in my car. So that's different and interesting. So I'm a sculptor, a master sculptor, and also I do the painting and clay, but I just love to sculpt so much. So when I'm thinking about my drawing, I started to think about those little scrunched up plastic gloves, and I find them kind of, you know, kind of fascinating, kind of interesting. So I drew this. I don't know if you can see it. I think you can see that. My two gloves. I'll make it darker. But I did the 2/3 lines that we talked about in lesson 1, where you can take a picture and then divide it into thirds. Now, if you hold on to that picture a little longer when you're getting the 2/3 lines to show up, you'll notice that there's actually way more lines. Can you see how many lines I've got across there? It's like 3 sections per third. So just hold it a little longer and take a picture if you want more detail, more dividing rectangles, so that you can get a more detailed drawing. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with our pencils. All my pencils in my pencil cup said 2B or 2, which is pretty much the same. These are pretty much graphite pencils. And graphite, if you don't know, there's charcoal and graphite. So graphite is kind of like clay, and if you ever used clay, even if it gets hard, it's kind of that dark gray, but not a charcoal. And so what they do is they take, you know, charcoal dust is powdery and black. It gets all over your fingers. So what they do is they mix graphite with the gray clay, and then they make the lead, and that's what the lead is in a lot of the graphite pencils. That's what it is. So now it just depends on how much charcoal you mix with your graphite in order to make it lighter gray or darker black. So what I want to do is lay out our pencils, and I want to just use the same amount of pressure per line. That's that one, because we're going to try to decide. See that I had the same amount of pressure, but this one's way darker and that one's way lighter. So those two are pretty dark and I like those two. But I mean, it's nice to have a light one too. That's kind of a medium and a medium. Okay, so these are my darks. These are my mediums, and that's my light. I have my ballpoint pens now. I'd prefer to have micron pens, but I don't have any here. So I'm going to do that. That's nice, not dried up. It's good. This one's more fine. I could tell this one's more fat. You know, so it just depends on what I want to do with those, but both of those are good. Here's my markers that I had in my cup. Well, that's wonderful. This one's drying up, so I'm not going to use it. That's the fat end. And that one's really drying up. So, okay, those are your choices. So what I'm going to do is, once you've drawn in, you've done your 1/2 inch border, you've done your thirds if you want to do that, and you've drawn in your hand, then what do? We erase our grid. Okay, so let's erase the grid. And the other thing is that I wanted you to know, as a sculptor, I could sit here and draw that just like that with no grid. I'm just trying to involve everyone out there and try to make it to where you feel comfortable doing that. So either way, you can either set up your gloves and sit there and draw them freehand, or you can use the grid method, either way. Now, I don't have a background for this piece yet, but I'm thinking about what I'm going to do. for it. And I know it's very abstract. We haven't talked about abstract. We've both pretty much done, you know, a little bit more realistic drawing so far. So that's getting a little abstract. I don't think anybody would look at that and go, oh, plastic gloves from when the pandemic hit. But hey, I have to make myself happy too. And so as an artist, I can't wait to get into that. It's almost like sculpting for me to get to draw the black, charcoal gray, light gray, and white. And that's what I want you to do, is have the 5 colors. I want you to really concentrate on using line to go around everything to make it feel like it's 3-dimensional. And I want you to use the different sizes and colors of your pencils, pens, and markers. They're all in that range of white, light gray, gray, charcoal, and black. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on that and erase your grid to come up with your concept. If you want to do something completely different, that's okay. So whatever's hitting you, whatever's, you know, making you feel inspired, I want you to be able to do that. All right, I'm going to get after it. I hope you got your graph in. I hope you have your idea for your contour hands and your concept is all making you happy. Here's what I've started doing. I erased my grid, did my border, started off with a small glove at the top, and I'm going to work with this one down here to show you how I would go about it. But again, you're an artist, so you can do it how you want. But what I started off with is my darkest black with my marker, and I'm not going to go completely crazy, you know, too much black yet. I'm just doing it in the very darkest places. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. And then I'm going to work my way up with my fat black ballpoint pen. So if you have to, squint like this, and you can tell if it's black, charcoal, gray, light gray, or white. So I'm going to squint and I'm going to see where are the places that are not necessarily super black, and the line is a lot skinnier, so that this ballpoint pen will work better for me. Okay, so I'm going to have a little bit of a dark shadows in this section, and so I'm going to do the contour lines where they go in the direction that that glove in that one section is curving down and around into the concave space there. So I'm going to continue to work on my dark lines. I have that beautiful one right there. This side, it's just not that black. I want my strong lines though, because I like to have a white if necessary, but I like some definition in there too. I don't want it just to become fuzzy. So at that point, I have to decide which direction is it going, and I think it's getting lighter as it comes this way. It's a little bit with this ballpoint here. Then I'm going to go with my darkest pencil at that point, coming around. And now I have to decide which direction do I make the lines going in the contour. So I'm going to go back to my pen, because I know they're coming up the hill here toward me. These are going a little bit sideways now. Okay, we're starting to sculpt this with line. Getting a little darker. Come around a little darker, and I can feel it coming around just because you know, it feels like that to me anyway. So I'm going to loosen up. I'm going to go wider with my lines so that it gets it a little bit less black, and then I'm going to keep going with my pencil. Come up and around. A nice, beautiful black. This is going to go downhill. Coming over here. And now this whole area is pretty gray. It has a few little places that are white, but what I'm going to do is make it gray. That whole section. And the edges I'm going to darken as it comes down towards the what it's sitting on. And then here's my eraser. And then I'm going to come back in. I love doing this. I love coming back in and erasing the highlights back because they're not pure white, and when you erase them back, it just gives it such a lovely soft quality that is so pleasant to look at. And so I'm going to keep working on mine. You go ahead and work on yours, and we'll get back in a little bit. Okay, so this is where I'm at the moment with all the pencils and the black. So I hope you're doing all right. I hope everything's going well with your pencils too. I hope that you're totally interested in what you're doing and at peace, and knowing that you are creating something that will count, and that hopefully the whole world will see. That's what I hope. And so if I okay, hopefully you can see. So I went from my black. I love this ballpoint pen. You know, I would never draw with a ballpoint pen, but if it weren't for this situation. So and I think that's probably why I like drawing with this ballpoint pen right now. It's because when this is all over, I don't know that I'll ever draw with a ballpoint pen again, because I was so fond of my micron pens. But the thing I've learned is that I need to create no matter what it is, and so do you. You know, creating, lots of times people think that when you're creating, you're actually thinking very deep, very deep thoughts. But the truth for me is that I'm thinking, oh, it needs to be lighter, lighter. Oh, that's it. That looks so good. But now here we are. Be careful, careful. Don't go around the corner. Don't mess up. Hold your hand just right. Don't shake. Good job. That's beautiful. That's exactly what you should do. That's great. Need to get a little darker here. It goes that direction now. Let's put a line here, and needs to have a little shadow there too. Don't get too heavy-handed, and don't get too hard. Flow with it. Good job. And that's what I'm thinking. And when I paint, it's more purple. It needs more blue, more green. Oh yeah, that looks really good. So when I'm finished creating, I step back from my piece and I just feel great. I feel like I went somewhere. I feel like I had an adventure. I feel like I have something to show for it that's necessary. I liked myself for doing it. I like looking back on what I made. This is getting into my lighter area, so see there again, I'm thinking this is my lightest pencil that I had. So I'm going to go up a hill here, so I'm going up the hill with my light pencil. Needs a little bit more, but not that much. A little bit more, not that much. Okay, that's good. Alright, I'm going to keep working on mine. You keep working on yours too, okay? Alright, so I'm coming up on using some of my dark marker again, and I want you to just be cautious. Oh, you can always work up to the black, but once you put the black in, you can't ever get it off if it's a marker. So less is better at first. I personally love the dark black, but I I think that the drawings always look better when all 5 of the colors are there, if it's going to be a complex drawing like this. You know, I know we did our continuous line, and that is all about a very black, smooth line on white paper, to be super dramatic like that. But for something like this, I personally really enjoy seeing if the artist was sensitive to all the shades of charcoal, like light gray, like we've talked about. So I'm almost done here. I've spent some good time on it. And now I have the 4 pieces at this point in my body of my homework, right? So I'm hoping that when you're doing this, that you're thinking to yourself that you're building a body of work to look back on, and that each one of these drawings represents you in a way, an artist, how you think, so that when one day we can see these pieces in a museum, that I can go in there, and so can the rest of the world, and they can see your personality. Since I've been a teacher and a college professor for a very long time, I've noticed that each artist, even if I give them the same pencil and the same thing to draw, their personality will shine through every single time. And if they do their best, then there's something so fascinating about it, so incredibly wonderful, that it's absolutely pleasing to the viewers. I've been in classrooms where people can tell if a person's taken time and really used their talent and cared with their heart, and we will stand there as a class and just look at it, and there's something so human and beautiful about it, and pleasing and peaceful, that makes me so happy. Okay, so this is another one of those sections where I really like it and I want to erase it back. I could have left it white, but I don't want to do that. I want to erase back, because sometimes when you erase back, it's softer. Right there's a nice place for it. It'll be right there. Okay, I think a little more. Is this my one? Yeah. A little more over here. And I've gone up the hills and around the corners and tried to give it that really soft, but it has a that plastic has, you know, it has a form to it. It's not just mush. So tried to really get involved in that because it made me happy. I think so. All right. I'm gonna sign my name. Be sure to sign your name and the date. Okay, so what is the date? That is the 30th. The reason I'm asking you to put the dates, because I don't necessarily always put the dates down, is because it really matters right now. Every day counts. You know, we learn something new every day. So that's my hands contour drawing. Thank you for coming to the Godstone Ranch School of the Arts, where we're doing homework, the Global Art Exhibition. And I want to let you know that God loves you, and so do we. Have a wonderful day.